I want to welcome Andrea Tessier to the podcast today. I'm excited for you to listen to her and for us to have this conversation. So welcome, Andrea.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. Will you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you?
Okay. Where do we start? I am now a certified master life coach and a business alignment coach or a personal freedom coach. And what I love to do is support other women on the path back to who they truly are. So we do the work to remove the obstacles to experiencing a more fulfilling life. So the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, the overthinking, the overwhelm that always comes up when we are stepping into bigger versions of ourselves. In my work with women, we remove that so that they can be more of who they truly are. And that touches their business, that touches their families, that touches their lives and their fullest expression of themselves. And I really feel like, I've been that woman who was doing all of the right things. I had the quote unquote successful career and everything I was supposed to have, and then deeply felt unfulfilled, realized at a point that there is more. And a lot of the patterns, habits that I had been living by got me to a point, but ultimately I wasn't lit up by life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started just asking more questions. And rather than going outward and looking for solutions out of myself, I turned inwards and started connecting with my intuition, spirit, source, looking for a different kind of guidance and testing and trusting that. And that's what I get to do now with other women.
That's beautiful. It's so important. And we were talking earlier about darkness, that sometimes darkness is necessary. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, we were just sharing. I was listening to one of your old podcasts, and I was so moved by the story that your friend, your guest was sharing about how she was talking about plants specifically and how she had plants in her home and how the ones that experience darkness grew bigger and stronger and more resilient than the ones who didn't. And that's what I see often in my clients, because there are often high achieving women. They want to do big things, and society conditions us for more.
Yeah.
More, bigger, better, be more productive, do more. How do you trim the fat so you can do more in your day? And the truth is one, that's actually not the natural human cycle anywhere else in the natural world.
Yeah.
Right? And we need rest. We need moments of healing, of digestion, of the darkness, so we can actually integrate, so we can digest all of the beautiful experiences that we're having and use them for growth.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I think that's so beautiful, this idea and this permission to rest, this permission to slow down, to not get caught up in the rat race and the doing, because the point is not to be a burnt out, stressed out millionaire.
Right.
Right? The point is not to be, somebody who has all of the followers and all of the success and then deeply unfulfilled, at least from where I sit, right?
Yeah.
And so we get to experience those moments of darkness, of quiet, of winter.
Yeah.
Right? So that we can truly become.
Yeah. Nature is a great teacher of those cycles of life and just sitting still. And it makes me think of the creation, when the earth was created, all the creation process, and how there was a time of rest. And so for me and my religion, each Sunday, that's your day of rest. And you to take time out of the world and just process and commune and do these things. And I think also that's a good thing to do daily, not just the weekly, but to have that time for yourself daily to process things. because I'm a go, go, go person. And I definitely know and try to do that time just to slow down and process. So I love that you
That
help
is
with that.
easier. Yeah. And that's easier said than done, right? Because what we're actually doing in that pause and in that rest is going against all of our conditioning. Like
Yeah.
what most of us have been taught since we were babies, right? That we have to be productive as women, that our job is to be there for other people, nurturing, supporting, caring for. And so it makes it really, really difficult. And that's why people experience mom guilt. People
Yeah.
are much more prone to hustle, much more prone to urgency. It has to be done now, right? Or if I get all of this done, then I can rest or play. And we have to come up against that every single time we want to rest, right? Which
Yeah.
is the body's very natural mechanism. And so, when I support women, it's really about getting out of their own way. And the check-in is an internal check-in versus an external one,
Mm.
right? Rather than comparing to, well, this is what so-and-so is doing. She's able to do all of this, so I should be able to, right? This is what this person is doing, so I should be able to, or so-and-so has experienced this. Rather that the check-in is internal. Do I have the capacity for this? Like,
Yeah.
does this feel good to me? Do I even want to do this? Right? And those are subtle check-ins that change everything. And it's easier said than done, because every time you want to do the thing for yourself, you have to come up against yourself.
Yes. And I think that's a big thing, is the comparison. How do you help people through that? Just to, I mean, because that's, yeah, there's, especially with social media, there's always that comparison going on for people, it seems like.
Yeah. And comparison's real. Comparison is ingrained for women, especially because we have hundreds of years of other women being competition. So it's so subtly, like in our subconscious mind, kind of running a lot of our choices, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And me too, like I am not immune to this. I'm a Leo, and slightly narcissistic, right? Which means that I'm always comparing myself to other people. And sometimes in that comparison, I'm winning. And sometimes in that comparison, I'm losing. Right. And underneath that, and this is the work that I get to do with people, is we get to look at the root of that. Right. And I can take people to that root because I've been to mine. Like I know that that deeply touches a worthiness, like a not enoughness. And that's where we get to go, right? It's not on the superficial level of the comparison, but we follow that back and we follow that thread to what was the wounding that triggered that? When did that level of comparison become the safest choice? And it always makes sense, right? There's always, some story of humiliation, right? Like you thought you forgot, or of extreme judgment, or being put down, or like actually being blatantly compared to a sibling, right? From
Yeah.
parents or in school. Like school's terrible for comparing kids, right? And I could say that as a teacher, so as a former teacher, so I have so much compassion for that. We're riddled with it.
Yeah.
And so, truthfully, to get down to the root of it, is we get to go to, what I call, or what, you know, therapeutic systems call the inner child, right? Or internal family systems call the inner child, and we get to see what she truly needs. Because all of us have that younger part of us that didn't get their needs met. Right? We all have a little girl. And when I say little girl, I mean like rooted in psychology, not like an actual little girl. Some of us have children, but that didn't get their needs met while we were growing up. And an aspect of ourselves stays stuck there, and this could be anywhere between like 0 and 25 when the brain was fully formed. And so we get to go to her and see what it is she truly needed and truly desired, and start giving to ourselves in that way. Because at the root of comparison is often a not enoughness, a
Mm.
fear of not belonging, a fear of rejection, a fear of not being liked. And to be able to give yourself that, and for me to teach my clients how to give themselves that, is the best gift you can have.
Yeah. Because everyone wants to be accepted. We all want that. I mean, that's just, we're human beings. We're people of connection, right? So we want to be accepted. So what are your suggestions for people for that comparison to get away from that? Because I mean, it's probably a continual battle for some, right? All the time,
Yeah.
just comparing.
Oh, yeah. Totally. And you get to notice when you go into comparison. That's the first part. How does this show up for you? For me, it was like sometimes I would make like a face, right? And it was so subtle. And I'd be like, oh my God, like, why am I making this judgy face right now? Other times I would notice that my body just kind of closed off. Other times it was more like passive aggressive, where I would just choose not to talk to somebody, right? Other times I was overly nice to that person. And so everybody's level of comparison shows up in different ways. For some people, it is on social media, and it's like you're looking at somebody's vacation photos and you're comparing it to your real life. And it's like, well, I don't have that. And so you get to just notice what it is for you. And the key is to not make it wrong,
Hmm.
right? Because when the go-to is, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm a bad person, we're already setting ourselves up for failure. So the first thing is like noticing like that awareness of like how this shows up for you, and allowing it to just to be curious about it. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why this is coming up for me right now. And
Hmm.
then after that, it's forgiving yourself for the judgment, forgiving yourself for the comparison. And it can simply be, I forgive myself for judging. I forgive myself for judging. And in that, you're already softening around it. And then you get to go and check in with yourself. Okay, what is it I actually need in this moment? Oh, I need some self-acknowledgement. Right? And a lot of women were comparing to others because and this is for me, so I'm not going to speak for everybody. It certainly is true for hundreds of the women that I've coached, and it's true for
Yeah.
me. But generally at the root is there's a not enoughness, right? There's like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. Like, I believe that I'm not enough in some capacity. And then how do I actually acknowledge that in myself? And so some people can, right? Some people can start to see their wins and can start to pick them out. Maybe you have a friend that you can celebrate with, and that's amazing. But some people get to do that work with someone else, with a coach or a therapist or a practitioner, where they can do the healing work around their enoughness wound.
Yeah, I think it's just self-worth, right? You have to know your self-worth. Those around us, it doesn't reflect who we are, right?
Yeah.
So with that comparison, we're just trying to accept that our perception of their perception of us, which really isn't there, right?
Yeah. And that's so meta, right? It's like, whoa, I'm perceiving that person as judging me as this, but it's actually because I'm judging myself for this.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the juice is. Like, why are we judging that? And we get to start to question some of the stories that we bought into for so long that we really thought were true, but maybe aren't. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Self-love, right?
And that's easier said than done. Like, that is a practice. That is a practice of, and a lot of women come to me because they want to feel more empowered, right? A lot of the women come to me who have decided to start businesses of their own, to be an entrepreneur, very much like my story, left the successful career that was ultimately unfulfilling, have made the leap to do that mission that's on their heart, right?
Mhm.
They've said yes to that seed of magic that the universe or spirit said, we want you to do this work. And then all of their stuff comes up, right? They've
Yeah.
all done the really courageous, beautiful thing and said, yes, I will do this work. And then they're still human. And the doubt comes up and the comparison comes up and the imposter syndrome comes up. And the truth is that none of that is you. Like none of that is you. It's not who you are.
So what are some tips of how to help someone to get out of that? Like just even one day at a time.
Yeah. And exactly that's what it is to feel truly empowered in that is forgive yourself. Like there's deep forgiveness work around the comparison, the judgment, the patterns, because nothing heals in the energy of judgment. Nothing. And if, your listeners take nothing away, if they only take one thing away from that is to know that nothing heals in the energy of judgment. The judgment part of us feels like it wants to continue to push us forward. It feels like it wants us to be better versions of ourselves. Like that's the highest intention of judgment. And nothing truly heals in that.
Yeah.
And so we have to first get ourselves to a level of acceptance. And that can be done with support, but it can also be done on your own if you are, truly self-aware and can catch yourself in some of those patterns. So deep forgiveness work, deep acceptance work. I'm a fan of connecting the dots, right? Like, so if this comparison is coming up, what is this truly connected to?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can kind of start to be like, okay, this makes a lot of sense why this is showing up for me. And then the next tip would be like, what do I actually need? What do I truly need if I remove the pressure of all of these outside things?
Mm-hmm.
What is it I really need that I can give to myself right now? Or ask a trusted person in my life for support with.
Sounds like there's a lot of exploration of what you really desire, right? To find out really what you want to be or where you perceive yourself. I think that would help in just knowing what you want, right? To be able to get it.
Yes, that knowing what you want and that your desires matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
And that's where, the trusting in spirit, source, God, universe, whatever you want to identify with comes in. Is if you have that desire, it's yours for a reason, right? That's your mission for a reason, right? I've heard the most amazing ideas that people want to do in the world, right? People that want to start, different entrepreneurial paths, people that want to create things, people that want to bring women together, people that want to be healers in some way. And none of their inspirations are mine. I didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
They got that, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are sitting there going like, oh, I really want to inspire and lead women to do this work. That's mine. And I believe that's our connection to source, is we get to trust our desires. We get to trust our joy, and that's our medicine that gets to lead us forward.
Yeah, I think that really empowers us, right? When we figure that out, and what I guess our missions or those gifts that we've been given, those desires, they really will help us, and you'll have a passion for it to help you move forward in that self-motivation, right? To move forward.
Yeah. And what's so interesting about gifts, and most people don't realize that what they do is a gift because it's so close to them. They think that it's normal and they think everybody does it.
Yes, yes.
But the truth is that nobody can do it in the way that you do.
Right.
Bringing women together in a mastermind, like in a collaborative community where we get to support each other's businesses and really have a fresh eye, because I'm really, really good at facilitating groups. I was a teacher for so long. Like I'm really good at building a strong community. And I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, can't everybody just do like, can't everybody just like have people come together and love each other and leave as best friends? And my friends were like, no, it worked that way for me. And I was like, oh, that's a gift. And for anybody who's like, well, what are my gifts? I don't even know what that is. I'm just normal. I promise you that's not true. And our gifts and our biggest trauma, our biggest wounding are often two sides of the same coin.
Hmm. Can
Right.
you,
And so, yeah. And so that's where you get to look like, where is your biggest wounding? Where is your biggest trauma? On the other side of that is your gift. And I guarantee nobody does it like you do.
that's interesting, to the flip side of the wound or trauma. And then there's your gift. Never
Yeah.
thought of, yeah. So
Yeah.
someone explore to even know what gifts they have.
Well, that's where you start, right?
Okay.
Because
Just at the,
that's where you start. Like, where is your biggest wounding? What is your biggest hurt, your pain? For me, I always felt rejected. Like,
mm,
as a little girl, I felt so unremarkable. I didn't feel like I was deeply connected to anybody. I always felt like I was on the outside. And I started as a, like, so there was this deep wound around rejection and not feeling included and not, feeling worthy because I was part of something. And then I was able to slowly see the other people that were also outsiders, and I'd bring the outsiders together. And because I was so in tune with that when I was a classroom teacher, I was able to manage the needs of the individual as well as the collective and sort of make sure that everyone could get along. And I was able to hold that because that was also my experience. And so I just thought everybody could do it. But it was like my greatest wounding around not belonging and feeling rejected was also what made me really amazing facilitating groups. Really good.
that's awesome. That's really neat.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just made me think of how um I've been a teacher myself, and it's, yeah, the facilitating and the working with the one-on-one, but as a group also, it's challenging sometimes, but it's, I don't know, like you said, you have that gift, so it's your gift, so it becomes natural for you. And I think that's neat for people to really look inside themselves, and what causes them pain, really, I guess, can be on the other side their greatest joy, if you take your weaknesses and make them strengths, right? So that makes me think of that, and I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And another thing that I've done when I was like sort of searching and exploring what mine might be was I asked people. I was like, and this is uncomfortable, right? So if anybody's going to do this, it is definitely uncomfortable because it's deeply vulnerable to ask for feedback from people that you love,
Yeah.
right? And to ask them things like, what do you think are my greatest gifts? How do I light up a room? And to be able to receive that kind of loving feedback is a skill in itself. And that will point you to truly what's remarkable about you, even though you can't see it. Right. And do expect there will be a doubtful part that's like, yeah, but that's just normal. That's so easy. Yep.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
means it's it. Because not everybody can do it.
Yeah. My husband actually had that experience where a friend had texted him or reached out to him and said, hey, can you just share with me? I'm just interested. Share with me your perspective of what you think my gifts are. And so he did. And then the friend replies, like, oh, I never thought of those as, they could be my gifts. And so, yeah, it just opens that perspective of something you never thought of, because maybe that was just normal to him. I don't know. But so,
Yeah. Honestly, okay. So, first of all, the listeners are going to take away that nothing heals in the energy of judgment. The second thing I would encourage everyone to do is to ask 3 people in your life that question.
perfect.
Right. And when I offer this as a tool to my clients, it's usually when they might be struggling with lack of confidence or feeling disempowered, or not being able to self acknowledge themselves. And I ask them to go and talk to people that they love and trust. And you'll ask the question, what are my gifts? Just like your husband's friend did. You might ask, how do I light up a room? Um, the catch is all you can respond with is thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
most women will be like, no, and go
Right.
into kind of the dismissing thing, or they'll want to offer back,
Mhm.
right? And kind of like even
Bounce it off them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or off, even the playing field, but by doing
Right.
something in return. But the catch is to actually just receive that level of feedback.
I love
And
that. Yeah.
all you get to say is thank you. And then step 3, message me on Instagram and tell me how it went.
Awesome.
I want to know. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. So tell them your Instagram right now, and we'll also have all that in the show notes. But
Yeah, sure. My Instagram is just it's the reverse of my name, Tessier, Andrea, Tessier .Andrea.
okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm super excited to hear from everybody to hear what happened.
Yeah, that'll be good. I think that, like you're saying about people, wanting to give back, like say in reverse what they think of them instead of just saying the thank you, that as a society too, we bounce the giving back to them. Like if someone says, "Oh, you look so nice today." "Oh, no, I don't," whatever, just negative comparison, I think in that way as well, too. Just,
Yeah.
so
Oh, it's
I love,
not as good as so and so. Or,
right.
oh, but I love your XYZ. That's what we do.
Yeah. So I love
And
that you're just like, just say thank you, just accept it. And I have several girls, I have 5 girls, and I try to teach them that just say thank you. Like when someone gives you a compliment, you don't have to reject that compliment in any way. So
and that goes back to how challenging a lot of us have to actually receive.
yes.
Right? Especially as again, women who tend to be people pleasers, really great caregivers, really great martyrs, do a lot of giving. For a lot of women, it doesn't actually feel safe in the body to receive support, receive acknowledgement, receive compliments, receive anything really. And what that looks like when they're in business is receiving clients, receiving money, receiving, new opportunities, right? And so the subtlety of a thank you actually can move mountains in terms of your capacity to receive and to show your system, I'm worthy of this.
Yeah. Back to the self-worth, right? Yeah. And why do you think that is, that people reject it like that? Like that we're so just in tune to doing that naturally, right?
Yeah. And it's a safety to receive, right? It's not
Mhm.
safe to receive this. I'm much more comfortable to give,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
much programming for women that around giving and caring for and the output rather than the input. But truly, like our bodies are designed to receive.
I think it goes both ways, the giving and the receiving. And just like with service, you give and then you're filled with that joy of giving. I mean, it's the same time, same thing, both ways. I love that.
Yeah. And then can you receive that level of joy?
Right.
Right? Like receiving joy is really difficult for women to actually like, oh, it's actually safe to be in this level of happiness, of gratitude, of excitement. Because for a
Yeah.
lot of us, it's not safe to even receive that in a deep way. We might let it in a little bit. And then it's like, okay, that's enough.
So how can, I mean, yeah, that reception of joy, like it's, we can be happy all the time. It's okay. It's like, to get through things and feel that joy all the time. How can people hold on to that and keep that?
Yeah. Well, we have to be able to receive it in the first place. So
Yeah.
a simple thank you, right? Also to not rush it, right? There's like, okay, like I, achieved the thing I wanted to achieve, or I experienced the thing that I've been wanting to experience. And now that it's done, we just move on. But when do you actually sit there and go, damn, that was a really great podcast episode. I had so much fun talking with Shelly. Like, when do you actually sit there and go, this feels so good? So this is like a positioning in the body thing first, right? You're not really able to receive when you're hunched over and closed in. And like right now, I'm like putting my arms in front of my chest and like covering my face. This is not a receiving position. But when
Mhm.
I sit back in my chair and let my arms kind of like flop to the sides and I open my heart, then I can feel it. I can let the joy in. I can let the enjoyment in. I can be in the like really beautiful energy that we're creating together. So that's a really simple way to actually pause in the good feeling.
Yeah, like we were saying at the beginning, that rest, that pause, that moment of just enjoying the life that's happening around you, not have to rush off to the next thing. I love that. That's a great reminder.
And that's how we get to let more joy in,
Yeah.
right? Where do you feel joy in your body? Like right now, I can feel it in my heart and I can feel it in my belly and I can feel it in my facial muscles. Right? But like, when do you stop to go, okay, where do I feel joy in my body?
Yeah. That's a good question to ask yourself and just feel and
Yeah.
listen. That's good.
Yeah, because where attention goes, energy flows,
Yeah.
right? Where we put our attention, we get more of that. So why wouldn't we focus on joy?
Right. This has been such a good conversation, Andrea. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with the listeners before we close?
Yeah, amazing. That was so fun. I was like, what are we going to talk about today? And then it went exactly where it needed to be. A few things. Yes, like I mentioned, if anybody in this space is an entrepreneurial woman and wants to come to community with other women and want to feel accountability, want to feel supported, want to feel like they have other supportive minds in their business without the prescriptive plan, the mastermind might be a thing, and you can be in touch with me. Just send me a PM on Instagram. And I also want to leave your listeners with a training. It's
Awesome.
called Get Out of Your Own Way and Expand Your Business. But truthfully, like we were talking about before, you can expand anything with these strategies. You can expand your relationships, you can expand your life, you can expand your experience of joy. So I would definitely recommend this training, and if that feels in alignment for you.
Awesome. And they can find that on your website. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll give you the link for sure. And yes, they can definitely find it on my website.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Andrea. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate all this light and energy that you've been sharing. This is so good. So thank you for sharing your time and your talents and your gifts. This has been great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.